Today I'm going to talk about 8 things not to do if you're trying to create a sanctuary of a home. It's Mimsy here. I teach budget-minded people how to beautify and improve your homes with home decor sewing, DIY, and upholstery so that you can host your friends and family with confidence. So let's get started. So the number one thing that you do not want to do if you want to create coziness and a comfortable environment that fosters conversation and a space that your family and friends love to be in and will tell you your house is so welcoming. The number one thing, and this is not my biggest tip. My biggest tip is going to be my biggest tip is going to be number 5. But number 1, let's stay on track here. I'm on number 1 and already off track. So number 1 is don't face all your furniture to the TV. If you have a dedicated TV room, okay. But for the space where you mainly host or your main space in your house, which would be like your great room or wherever it is that your family congregates, which is generally the kitchen, but usually nowadays with open concepts, your kitchen and living room is in the same great room. Do not line up your furniture all facing a TV. It just doesn't foster communication. There's nothing worse than everybody all lined up on one couch with a chair, a recliner here next to the couch, and everybody's facing the TV. You can't really have conversation over people that are sitting next to you on your sofa. Not only does it look bad and it disrupts the flow of your room, you just can't have conversation that way. It doesn't work. If you have to face your couch to the TV, there was a time in this room where I had a couch right here, and I have my TV right there, but for many, many years, I did not have any TV inside of my house. There was no TV inside of my house. My TV was only out on my back patio for probably 10 years. I only just put the TV up here because I saw all these people doing the Samsung frame TV, and I just liked that idea, being able to change out my artwork on my wall. So the reason why I hung the TV is so that I could have artwork on it. So if your space dictates that you have to have a sofa parallel to your television, then maybe put a couple chairs underneath your TV like this one here so that when you do have company, you have a space where people can talk back and forth and are actually facing each other. There's just nothing worse than having all your furniture lined up in a U shape or in a line, and then you have to look around your neighbor in order to see the person that's in the chair. Terrible setup. Don't do it. If you can have facing like this, it's perfect to have face-to-face conversation like this. One other quick thing about my sofas is when I got these sofas, they had 3 seat cushions, and I changed it out to be one long bench cushion because this is so great for seating many people. Nobody has to sit in the crack. For some reason, and it's not for some reason, it's clearly because nobody wants to sit in the crack, but when you have a 3-seat sofa, only 3 people will ever sit on it because nobody wants to sit in the crack. So if you have a bench cushion like this, you can line up 4 or 5 people, and we commonly do that here. I host my friends and family all the time. Just about every major holiday, I have my family over, which often is 30 or more people. And we will frequently have 4 people, sometimes more, depending upon who it is, sitting on these sofas at my family gatherings, and it's lovely. There's nothing better. One more quick thing about this sofa. Okay, let me move on. So number 2 is, this is maybe not a don't do this, but to have a couple extra chairs somewhere in your house for your family gatherings. Whether it's an actual side chair or an armchair like that, or just a few folding chairs, 2 or 3 folding chairs. I always keep, and let me show you, a couple folding chairs just sitting right outside of my sliding glass door on my patio, and I just leave them leaning there, not set up. I just leave them leaning there so that when my family comes over, if there is a a gathering and there's not enough seats, somebody can easily grab one of those folding chairs and just open it up and set it down quickly so that nobody's left standing. I don't set them up because I like for my space to look styled and neat and beautiful when people arrive. And then as the day progresses or the night progresses, then we will start moving chairs around, bringing in a couple folding chairs as they're needed, so that when my guests arrive, everything looks beautiful and orderly in the way that I like it. That's number 2, is to not be short on seating. Number 3 is to not put all your furniture against the walls. It sometimes can be hard to figure out furniture placement in specific rooms. Like this room, when we bought this house, this room felt like a huge corridor or a big bowling alley. I quickly figured out how I was going to do it in 3 different zones. But I know for some people it's a little bit more difficult to visualize and figure out a plan for a big space that doesn't have a lot of walls. When you have an open concept like this, it can be sometimes difficult to figure out how to place your furniture. And you need to sometimes float your furniture in the room in order to make your seating arrangements conducive to being warm and cozy and comfortable and conversational. Number 1 thing that will help you with that is anchoring your space with area rugs and potentially with pieces of furniture behind your sofa in order to anchor the space and make it feel like it's cohesive and warm and cozy. So don't push all your furniture against the wall and have, a couch against the wall there and your chairs against the opposite wall and 12 feet in between your conversation space. There's nothing worse than having to yell across the room to have a conversation with somebody that's got the couch pushed all the way against the wall. You can put a sofa table behind a couch in order to bring it away from the wall, in order to get your seating areas closer together so you can have a conversation. Okay, number 4, don't do this. Don't buy furniture that's not proportional. And what I mean by that is you have to try out your furniture before you buy it. And maybe you don't have to try it out, but at least know your measurements and know what is going to work in your space. Because so many times I have been in people's homes, and I think this is just in recent years because we've gotten to a place where people's homes are huge. A lot of new build homes are huge, and with big open spaces, people tend to buy really big furniture, and that makes sense. You have to fill that huge space, but sometimes with that big furniture, it doesn't fit. You can't sit in it. You go to sit down on that big piece of furniture and the seat is so deep that you sit on it with your legs all the way back, and you end up you're like this, because the furniture is so huge, you can't sit in it. Or if you do sit with your feet all the way back, you're sitting with your feet straight up like this. You can't touch the floor because the couch is so deep. And that's perfect if it's for your TV room or your movie room. That's ideal. That's what you want, is a big comfy couch. But if you want to have a cozy, comfortable space where you can entertain your guests, then your furniture needs to be proportional and comfortable for you to sit in. If you have a big sofa like that, and that is the situation where when you sit in it, you're lounged back, you can't sit comfortably in your sofa, then you need to provide a throw pillow for your guests at every spot, so that there's just a throw pillow at every spot, so when they sit down, they can reach the floor and sit upright comfortably to have a conversation. Otherwise, it just feels ridiculous to have your guests have to either perch at the end of your sofa or laying back in your sofa. Okay, this is number 5, and this is my number one thing for creating a cozy, comfortable space that people want to be in. And people will say to you, your house is so warm and inviting and welcoming. That's what people say to me all the time when I host. People tell me that my house is blessed. And I think it's just because I do spend a lot of time thinking about hosting, and I love to host my friends and family. Number 5, and my most important thing for creating that atmosphere in your home, is lighting. Lighting is so important. I think it's the number 1 most important thing to creating a comfortable, cozy space. So the number 1 thing that you do not want to do ever if you want to have a comfortable, warm space is don't use a ceiling fan light kit. Overhead lighting, whether it's a boob light or a ceiling fan with a light kit or can lights in your living room. There's a place for can lights, and that's in the kitchen, not really in your living room. Unless they're on a dimmer, even then, I don't think they're good. I'm just going to talk about a couple lighting concepts in your space and tell you how to get a good feel in your room. First of all, lighting needs to be layered. There needs to be a few different sources of lighting in your room because you want to create an ambiance of warmth and coziness. And one more thing, make sure that all your light bulbs in your space are 2700 Kelvin. Don't buy anything else. Don't even go 3000 Kelvin. Just don't. Anything that says 4,000, 5,000 Kelvin, forget it. You're going to have a hospital atmosphere in your home, and nobody wants that. So buy only 2,700 Kelvin. Look on the box. It has a scale, and it'll be marked 2,700 Kelvin. Buy 2,700 Kelvin and nothing else. That's my first tip for lighting. Then you want to make sure that you have in your space, you want to make sure that you have at least 3 sources of light and not an overhead light. If you have to use an overhead light, make sure it's on a dimmer, dim it down, and then also bring in lamps. You need to have lighting that is at eye level or close to eye level, not overhead. So with lighting, there's ambient lighting and then there's task lighting. Ambient lighting is lighting that fills your whole space. So an ambient lighting situation is lamps, sconces, chandeliers, as opposed to a task light, which a task light is a light that is directional and only will shine right where you want it. Like this light here. Let me show you. This is a task light. Notice that it only shines straight down. This top part is solid, and therefore the light does not come out of the top and create ambient light, which fills the whole room. This task light only shines down so that if I want to read a book, I can read my book here and it's just shining down. That is a task light. Task lights will only shine onto the surface or the intended piece that you want them to shine on. Gallery light is another form of a task light. So a gallery light would be a directional light fixture that has an opaque or a solid shade on it so that the light is only coming out in one pool of light that you can aim at a particular piece. That's a gallery light where it's like a spotlight basically, and that is a form of a task light. And gallery light can be lovely and beautiful. Have you ever gone into a beautiful art gallery and the lighting just is low, but the art is beautifully lit? That's because they're using gallery light or spotlights to spotlight the art, and those are task lights. So ambient light fills the whole room, and so as you can see with a lamp, the light from the lamp comes out of the shade, it comes out the bottom of the shade, and it also comes out of the top of the shade, therefore lighting the whole room with ambient light. And it's diffused by the shade, and that makes it pleasant and warm and inviting. You see what a nice warm glow that is? It's nice. It's not glaring. That's another thing that is something that you have to be aware of when you're lighting your space, is that your lamp shades fit properly so that you're not looking into a bare bulb. When you're sitting on the couch, you want your shade to come down far enough on your lamp that your bulbs are not exposed. So that's important too. And like in my kitchen, I have my pendant lights and the bottom is open. With that, you want to make sure that your shade is long enough so that when you're sitting at the counter, you're not looking directly into the bulbs, because that's just not pleasant when you're sitting there. You definitely need to have 3 sources of light in your room. So I have 2 lamps here behind my sofa, and then I have the 2 sconces over my fireplace. And then, because my room is a great room and my kitchen is attached, I do have the 2 pendant lights right there over my island, and that kind of lights this side of the room. So if you have a room with no overhead light, which I don't have any overhead lights other than the pendant lights and the chandelier in my dining room. I've heard people say, I have to put in lighting in my house. None of the rooms have overhead lights. And I'm like, what are you going to install overhead lights for? Just bring in a set of lamps. So anyway, the only places where I think you should have overhead lighting is in a kitchen or in a bathroom. Clearly in a kitchen, you need to have your kitchen brightly lit in order to do the tasks that you need to do in a kitchen. So can lighting in a kitchen, that's the ideal place for can lighting, is in your kitchen. But in a bathroom, you kind of need to have bright light in there too. So an overhead light in a bathroom, of course, you need to be able to just flip the light switch on and have light. But I do think in a bathroom you also have to have some sconces. And in a bathroom, I think those sconces need to be eye level so that you have good lighting on your face. And when you have eye level lighting, it just warms the space and gives you that glow that you want when you have lighting at face level rather than shining down from the ceiling and making your eyes sunken looking. When you have the lighting shining down in a bathroom like this, it's no good. You need to have lighting directly at your face in a bathroom. In the rest of your house, if you have overhead lighting, the only time you want to use it is if you're cleaning your house. That's kind of it.